Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. Luo He, my younger brother, the corpulent great freedom sovereign, said jovially, when you participate in some of Reincarnation Tower's operations in the future, you must remember to conceal your identity. Concealing one's aura and obscuring causality wasn't difficult for the other members of the Reincarnation Tower. Luo Feng, not yet a godly king, was somewhat inferior in obscuring causality. I believe, with the achievements of your physical body, hiding and disguising yourself won't be difficult, the great freedom sovereign remarked. However, when you act and engage with the enemy using techniques, you must avoid your own famous moves. Some techniques might only be executable by you in the entire land of origin. Once used, they could easily give away your real identity. Once your identity is guessed, you won't know peace. The great freedom sovereign sighed. After all, we in the Reincarnation Tower have acted time and again, contesting with many great forces, and seizing quite a few resources. In our Reincarnation Tower, only I and Gui Shu have ever revealed our identities, Wuxin God King added from the side. After my identity was exposed, the kings of Flame Wind ancient country knew I had previously seized many precious treasures. So they tried to assassinate me several times, and in the end, I had no choice but reincarnation. I don't mind, Emperor Gui Shu said indifferently from the side. I have nothing to hold on to, so what if I am exposed? His wife, children, and even all of his clan were no longer here. Emperor Gui Shu didn't care about being exposed. I have attachments, Wuxin God King sighed. It's only through reincarnation that I can protect them better. Luo Feng listened, understanding that he was still relatively weak, not yet involved in the struggles of the most powerful beings on the land of origin, yet he could also draw on their experience. The gathering to welcome the new member finally ended. Xiangjie City. Within a pavilion, Luo Feng sat alone. That strand of consciousness had already returned. The atmosphere within Reincarnation Tower is quite good. Luo Feng was quite satisfied. Even though I'm the weakest, everyone was friendly and accessible. However, even the Reincarnation Tower's sole Cloud Sky God King, at the first realm of Godly King, is extremely formidable. Luo Feng also understood how fearsome the estimated power of Cloud Sky God King was. In the land of origin, there are quite a few invincible beings at the first realm of Godly King. Why was Cloud Sky God King invited to join? I heard that Cloud Sky God King, by herself and through cultivation, reached the extreme limit of the first realm of Godly King. Unable to progress further, she then switched to cultivating the primordial bloodline. I heard she was too compatible with that primordial bloodline, uncovering too much of its potential, and though it caused her power to surge dramatically, digging too intensely into its potential also resulted in the vast well hidden deeper within the primordial bloodline clashing against her consciousness, leading to her loss of control. In her uncontrolled state, she instantly caused the death of a royal family god king from Thunder ancient country, and all of his avatars perished. The affairs of Cloud Sky God King were quite renowned. If it was only the killing of one real body of a royal family god king, he could still cultivate back, and so with some compensation, the matter could be settled. But her digging into the primordial bloodline was too deep, its intrinsic virulence targeted the soul. There was no way to revive through a resurrection vessel. Even at the second realm of Godly King, facing her virulence, one would suffer great loss of strength. According to my information, in terms of using poison, she could be ranked among the top 3 in the entire land of origin, Luo Feng could guess. During many members' operations, Cloud Sky God King's virulence could affect several second realm Godly Kings at the same time, naturally providing substantial aid to their actions. Not to mention the other 7 members. The treasure land infinite space. Luo Feng sat cross-legged on a piece of a blue-black stone, immersed in his cultivation. Although he had just joined one of the most prominent forces in the land of origin, Luo Feng also understood that whether it was the Two Realms Palace, or the Reincarnation Tower, inviting him, while he was merely at the primal chaos realm level was akin to an early invitation. Because once he became a godly king, demonstrating sufficient strength, there would be many more forces inviting him. Although it was an early invitation, he truly wasn't involved in collective action at the moment. Two Realms Palace was willing to offer a great opportunity. Reincarnation Tower, on the other hand, didn't offer any chances. Luo Feng smiled to himself. Sometimes a pie falling from the sky isn't necessarily a good thing. All actions of the Two Realms Palace were watched by alien races. Just this point alone was enough for Luo Feng to decline joining. Focus on cultivation. They are too far from me. From the experiences and lessons of senior practitioners, the godly kings of the two ancient countries were indeed ruthless, but their main targets were those at the second realm of godly king. They looked down on those at the first realm as too weak. The valuable resources contested by those at the second realm of godly king would arouse their covetousness, leading to their large-scale actions. If one reached the ultimate realm of God King, the two ancient countries became more cautious in how they dealt with them, not acting rashly. The Lord of 10,000 Realms, the sector beast of Qianmu Kingdom, according to Luo Feng's gathered intelligence, were both at the ultimate realm level of godly king. And that ancestor from the East Extreme Domain, there was no accurate intelligence, but at the very least, he was also at the ultimate realm of godly king. See a thoverfire.et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. These three top-tier forces each occupied a large territory, and were all doing well. This world, after all, respects strength. Luo Feng stopped thinking further and focused on his cultivation. Having consumed the effects of primordial crystal spirit fruit and clearing spirit liquid for half an era, Luo Feng still cherished the lingering effects of this phase. Great Tao of Life and Death. Luo Feng began to relax and contemplate the Great Tao of Life and Death again. Most of Luo Feng's efforts were on the Great Tao of Life origin and Great Tao of Destruction origin, with only a minority on the Great Tao of Life and Death. Luo Feng knew very well that with the first two Taos as references, with several special grade inheritances as guidance, and also as the foundation of his Great Tao of Life and Death, the more solid the foundation, the fusion of the Great Tao of Life and Death would indeed take one farther. He understood the reasoning, but the speed of comprehension for the separate paths of life and destruction was significantly slower than that of the Great Tao of Life and Death. No wonder many godly kings focus solely on one path. What's suited for oneself, after all, is the best. Luo Feng could clearly feel the difference, because he truly believed it from the heart. Even following the direction he most enjoyed in his heart, the efficiency of comprehension was noticeably higher. Extermination of 72 Blades, Volume 1, is based on the foundations of the heaven-splitting lineage and the dark heaven lineage. Its essence is to refine with the dark heaven lineage and utilize the heaven-splitting lineage. It even leads to their gradual fusion. Luo Feng gently shook his head, but this blade technique clearly has severe flaws. Although its power is great, its follow-through is weak. If the blade light contains the origin of life and then fuses with life spirituality, the natural power would be continuous and filled with endless tenacity. After that, refining with the dark heaven lineage and utilizing the heaven-splitting lineage, Luo Feng tried. With his past experience in comprehending numerous godly king-level secret techniques, Luo Feng's accumulation was already profound, and he gradually deduced a rough prototype of the new blade technique. No, that's not right. Luo Feng identified a problem. Once the blade light contains origin of life, life spirituality, its foundation becomes too profound, and the dark heaven lineage, heaven-splitting lineage simply cannot truly refine and control it. At that moment, the rules of the sector within Morosa's body emerged in Luo Feng's mind. It can integrate the heavenly lineage, forming a small sector, and use the sector as a cradle to assist with the complete refinement of the blade light by the dark heaven lineage and the heaven-splitting lineage. With the accumulation of the past hundreds of epochs, and both the 6 branches of life and the 6 branches of destruction had long reached the pinnacle of primal chaos. With the continuous state of consuming primordial crystal spirit fruits and clearing spirit liquid, Luo Feng only felt an emergence of spirit light, and his condition was extraordinarily good. The new secret technique gradually took shape through repeated trials. This secret technique incorporated 2 major branches of the Great Tao of Life, the life origin and life spirituality, and 3 major branches of the Great Tao of Destruction, the dark heaven lineage, heaven-splitting lineage, heavenly lineage. The 5 branches gradually fused, and the new secret technique became increasingly perfected. During this process, he encountered many setbacks, but Luo Feng resolved them one by one. Finally, it's done. Luo Feng had spent more than 10 million days in the land of origin, immersed in his devotion, and had finally perfected this secret technique. Emerge. With a single thought from Luo Feng, a dark chaotic hole formed within him. In terms of creating worlds, Luo Feng had become very experienced. Founding it on the heavenly lineage was even simpler. A massive amount of energy poured into the dark chaos hole, forming strands of blade light. These countless strands of blade light, containing the origin of life and life spirituality, converged and solidified continuously. In just a brief moment, a countless number of blade lights had surged in. Luo Feng used up a third of the energy reserves in this body, within the infinite space, before the dark chaos hole began to feel somewhat stretched. It's complete. Luo Feng sensed that a supremely refined blade light had been cultivated within the dark chaos hole at that moment. Luo Feng, just by looking at it, felt somewhat horrified. Endless sharpness. Even without its master's control, the blade light would not suffer any loss over the endless ages. Even if the power of the blade light was depleted, it could naturally recover, as it itself seemed to be the origin of life, endlessly energetic. Relying on just this one blade light, it should already be at the strong level of the first realm of the godly king. Luo Feng was secretly astounded. Is the power of fusion through the paths really so terrifying? It was merely a casual realization, during a moment of relaxation, from his rigorous cultivation. You should know that according to Luo Feng's deductions, this was just the beginning of the secret technique. Next, he would need to fully grasp the 5 kinds of great Tao branches, and after fusing all 5 branches into this secret technique, the secret technique's power would reach its pinnacle. A complete fusion of 2 kinds of great Tao branches would already be the second realm of the godly king. The upper limit of my secret technique is the complete fusion of 5 great Tao branches. Given such power at the starting point, it's quite normal. Luo Feng understood this secret technique, by nurturing a strong blade light within the chaos hole, shall be named eternal light of the chaos hole. With my spiritual will, I should be able to simultaneously control more than 10 strands of eternal light of the chaos hole. More than 10 strands of eternal light of the chaos hole would be comparable to the strength of my physical body. Luo Feng was very pleased. The strength of the physical body was Luo Feng's most powerful means in the outside world. Only by utilizing the unique formless and intangible capability of a perfect divine body and traveling the path of the transformation method could he achieve such extraordinary strength. But formless and intangible was granted by the supreme rules, and Luo Feng always felt like it was a bit of a shortcut. This time, however, there were no shortcuts. A secret technique born from the initial fusion of 5 great Tao branches. Already comparable to the transformation method. It seems even without relying on formless and intangible, I'm pretty strong, Luo Feng chuckled to himself. This chaos hole indestructible light secret technique is just right for me to conceal my identity while taking action, Luo Feng thought to himself. In the land of origin, some powerful beings, when doing things that could easily offend major forces, would conceal their identities. The chaos hole indestructible light appears to the outside world as a blade light that can cut through anything. In a fight, Luo Feng would not release the blade light for the opponent to slowly study. The blade light, when condensed to the extreme, doesn't allow the opponent any chance to infiltrate or scrutinize it. Merely a brief perception. Those with lesser insights might guess. Is it the technique of the origin Tao of matter? Or perhaps the origin Tao of the infinite? Both of these Taos can also achieve an unbreakable, endlessly sharp edge. Those of higher realms might feel a hint of the great Tao of destruction origin. However, in the land of origin, there are too many godly kings who cultivate the great Tao of destruction origin. It is a major school of thought. Time to relax is over. I should focus on the 10 directions world form. Luo Feng continued to delve into the 10 directions world form. Life and destruction are at the end the foundation of the great Tao of life and death. The more solid the foundation, the stronger the fusion of the great Tao of life and death will be. At the border of Flame Wind Ancient Country, Xiangjie City. A man dressed in white walked up to the garrison mansion. He had a saintly appearance, androgynous, standing at the entrance of the garrison mansion, yet the guards could not see him at all. Great Saint Luo He, the man in white spoke, his voice already conveyed to Luo Feng's ears through causality. So it's godly King Polu. Luo Feng had noticed the other's arrival into the city, but if the visitor did not come to see him, Luo Feng would pretend not to notice. After all, the number of people entering and leaving the city every day was immense. Since the other party was visiting, Luo Feng naturally went to the gate to receive him personally. The gate guards finally saw a holy man in white standing there, even involuntarily becoming fascinated by him. Godly King Polu, please, Luo Feng said. Godly King Polu smiled slightly and entered. In the guest pavilion, the two sat facing each other. Facing Godly King Polu, Luo Feng felt no pressure. Godly King Polu was a direct disciple of Emperor Qing, an invincible presence within the first realm of godly kings. Emperor Qing, being the most transcendent among the 13 emperors of Flame Wind Ancient Country, had a total of 15 direct disciples, 6 godly kings, 8 who transcended the primal chaos realm, and 1 at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm. These 6 godly kings were all extraordinary, with 1 at the second realm of godly king, 2 invincible at the first realm of godly king, and 3 at the limit of the first realm of godly king. This showed Emperor Qing's capability in cultivating disciples. Anyone who could become a godly king was not ordinary. Godly King Polu was one of the 6 godly kings. He had also converted to cultivating the primordial bloodline, reaching the invincible strength of the first realm of godly king. Luo Feng believed that with his full effort, he also possessed the limit strength of the first realm of godly king. As a being in the primal chaos realm with such strength, Luo Feng naturally felt no pressure facing godly King Polu. Great Saint Luo He, both of us are direct disciples of emperors and also guest elders of the Flame Wind Ancient Country. Our situations are quite similar, godly King Polu said with a smile. We guest elders should also make contact with each other more often, help each other, so that our path of cultivation can be smoother. That makes sense, Luo Feng agreed. Godly King Polu was famously adept at networking. Among the direct disciples of Emperor Qing, he had the strongest networking skills, friends scattered throughout the land of origin. What made the outside world most admiring was that he had very good relationships with many godly kings of the Wanjie Kingdom, and even succeeded in becoming a disciple of the Lord of 10,000 Realms. Emperor Qing, as his mentor, actually allowed him to do so. A godly king, taking as a mentor both Emperor Qing and the Lord of 10,000 Realms. In the entire land of origin, there was only one such individual. Of course, the Lord of 10,000 Realms also had a good relationship with the Flame Wind Ancient Country, and many of his disciples served as guest elders there. I have established a mutual support organization called Skyheart Alliance. It has no rules, just to make it more convenient for everyone to get in touch, said Godly King Polu. Our organization mainly invites godly kings in the first realm. So far, there are over 100 members, and 3 of the early members have even broken through to the second realm of godly king. Our organization members include 2 great ancient countries, 3 top-tier powers, and many members from various states, Godly King Polu said with a smile. I have long heard of the Skyheart Alliance, Luo Feng said. His own mentor, Mountain Sitting Guest, was a member of the Skyheart Alliance even when he was God King Jin. This was just a platform for the godly kings to contact each other, without any constraints. Godly King Polu also had good relations with many powers, because he founded this platform. As a disciple of Emperor Qing, and the Lord of 10,000 Realms and an overlord-level existence in his own right, his influence in the land of origin was naturally very large. Great Saint Luo He, would you like to join? Asked Godly King Polu. Of course, I can, Luo Feng nodded. Saw the novel_fire.et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He had joined the Reincarnation Tower, but he could also join other forces. Even Skyheart Alliance could hardly be considered a force. It was merely to facilitate godly kings contacting each other more conveniently. Godly King Polu showed a smile. Ha ha, Great Saint Luo, he is indeed straightforward. If there is any trouble, or anything you need help with in the future, just speak up. Although my capabilities are limited, my friends are spread all over the land of origin, and I have ways to solve many problems. Certainly, Luo Feng nodded. Godly King Polu had a good reputation for being willing to help fellow godly kings. This is the Skyheart token. After Great Saint Luo he joins. I believe many godly kings will want to contact you. Godly King Polu handed a token to Luo Feng. Luo Feng looked at the wooden token and smiled as he accepted it. Then I won't stay any longer. Godly King Polu got up. Luo Feng personally saw him off. The two of them walked inside the garrison mansion and encountered some servants, all of whom were extremely respectful. Mentor. Suddenly, they ran into Mo Yu Qingyang and his wife. This is Godly King Polu, Luo Feng said. Mo Yu Qingyang and Zhong Yunj were both startled. They were not ordinary eternal true gods, and were quite informed, knowing of Godly King Polu's reputation. Greetings to Godly King Polu, Mo Yu Qingyang and Zhong Yunj said respectfully. Is this Mo Yu Qingyang, your only disciple, Great Saint Luo he? Godly King Polu smiled as he looked at Mo Yu Qingyang, then noticed Zhong Yunj beside him. Luo Feng spoke from the side. This is my disciple Qingyang, and beside him is his wife Yunji. Yunji. Godly King Polu asked, I think I've met you before. Yes. Zhong Yunj was somewhat excited. The Godly King is kind, often publicly preaching in Polu City, instructing us weaker cultivators. I have been there 3 times to listen to the Godly King's teachings. Luo Feng listened from the side. The Godly King Polu enjoyed helping other godly kings, as well as aiding the weak, often giving public sermons. Although he spoke of elementary laws such as the primal chaos laws, the explanations of an overlord-level being were still incredibly precious. Each sermon would attract many eternal true gods to rush to Polu City to listen to the Godly King Polu's sermon. Ha ha ha, Godly King Polu laughed. Cultivation is not easy, I merely provide some slight guidance. Without saying much more, Godly King Polu left the garrison mansion with Luo Feng's company and departed from Xiangjie City. Godly King Polu is extremely powerful yet incredibly benevolent. Zhong Yunch returned to her cave mansion, still quite excited. Before, when I listened to his sermons, I could only watch and listen from afar. This time he spoke to me so kindly. He is indeed kind, Mo Yu Qingyang agreed. After all, it was rare for a powerful godly king to exchange a few words with 2 eternal true gods. In a few days, it will be Godly King Polu's next public sermon. Zhong Yunch looked at Mo Yu Qingyang. Let's go together then. Let's listen to the sermon together. Together? Mo Yu Qingyang pondered for a moment. It's soon, just a few days, Zhong Yunch urged. All right, I can arrange to take my turn earlier. Mo Yu Qingyang replied with a smile. The affairs of the city were managed on a rotation basis. Cultivators also needed their own cultivation time. Polu City. On the day of Godly King Polu's sermon, eternal true gods from all directions gathered in the square, a full million of them with fervent eyes focused on a high place. When Godly King Polu appeared, they were each excited beyond measure. Over 1 million eternal true gods had come, which was considered a small number, mainly because the journey was too long and perilous for eternal true gods. Godly King Polu's sermon is indeed extraordinary, Mo Yu Qingyang acclaimed after listening. He acknowledged. What Godly King Polu spoke about was even more detailed than his second master's teachings. Of course, Godly King Polu only spoke for a day. Morosa's guidance lasted longer, and it could be tailored to Mo Yu Qingyang's questions for detailed advice. I feel I have made some progress in my comprehension. Zhong Yunj was also very excited. If I could have regular guidance from a godly king as my master, perhaps I would have hope of reaching the primal chaos realm. The cultivators in the square began to disperse. Mo Yu Qingyang, Zhong Yunj, the godly king requests your presence. One of Godly King Polu's servants came to invite them. Us? Mo Yu Qingyang and Zhong Yunj were both somewhat flattered, and immediately followed the servant into the city's only high mountain, Polu Mountain. In a secluded part of Polu Mountain, Moyu Qingyang and Zhong Yunj saw the leisurely seated godly king Polu. "We pay respects to the godly king," the two of them quickly bowed with respect. "Moyu Qingyang, how is your master?" Godly king Polu said. "My master is well, as always dedicated to cultivation," Moyu Qingyang said. "Great Saint Luo, he is pure of heart and is sure to have a broader future than I," godly king Polu praised, then looked at the two of them. "You were earnest in coming from the frontier to listen to my sermon. Now, show me some of your techniques." "Yes." Moyu Qingyang and Zhong Yunj performed their techniques in succession. Godly king Polu gave pointers one by one, and the two juniors listened intently, feeling they had gained a lot. "Both of your talents are only average. Only with more diligence and focus is there hope for you to aspire to the primal chaos realm," godly king Polu said. "Understood." Both husband and wife listened closely. "Moyu Qingyang has great Saint Luo he as a master, no need for me to interfere much. Zhong Yunj, if you wish, you can be my disciple," godly king Polu said. He had many disciples, and to date, he had over 300 direct disciples. Zhong Yunj was thrilled to hear this. In her clan, she could not even meet the ancient godly king ancestors. In Xiangjie City, Luo Feng would at most occasionally give some advice to his direct disciple Moyu Qingyang. Morosa was usually the one to provide guidance. Let alone Zhong Yunj. Disciple pays respects to master. Zhong Yunj immediately knelt down, taking the opportunity to become a disciple of the godly king without hesitation. Moyu Qingyang also felt happy for his wife. With her becoming a disciple of a godly king, her path of cultivation had become hopeful. Godly king Polu nodded with a smile. "As my disciple, you will be arranged to have a residence on the mountain. You and your husband can live there, or you can always return to Xiangjie City," godly king Polu said, and then a servant led Moyu Qingyang and the others away. Godly king Polu watched this scene. "Master, Zhong Yun's talent is average, and there's truly no hope for her to impact the primal chaos realm. So why take her as a disciple?" the old servant of the primal chaos realm by his side asked with confusion. "Nothing is absolute. If she focuses on her cultivation, a miracle may happen," godly king Polu said, "and taking her as my disciple is also because of great Saint Luo he as a way to form some causality." Great Saint Luo he, the primal chaos realm old servant said, "He is, after all, only beyond the primal chaos realm. He is the one who, with his self-created secret technique, can match the strength of an extremely powerful first realm of godly king," godly king Polu said. "Once he becomes a godly king, he can quickly achieve undisputed in the first realm of godly king. Throughout the entire land of origin, not counting those who rely on external forces, there are probably only about 5 who can reach the undisputed status in the first realm of godly king. Luo he will soon be one of them." Godly king Polu looked at his old servant, who had followed him for countless years. "This Luo he will be much more powerful than me in the future. The path of cultivation is difficult and full of endless risks. Even I could fall with a moment's inattention. Making friends is one way to ward off risks. It's even more important when the friends are powerful." Godly king Polu turned and left. The old servant nodded, understanding, and quickly followed. "Master, godly king Polu has taken Yunji as a disciple," Moyu Qingyang sent the news back. Inside Xiangjie City, Luo Feng received the message. "That's good news," Luo Feng replied. This video will end here.